Hey, David Wygant here. What an amazing weekend on the 10-Minute Daily Reality Check. It's a weekend of narcissism. Well, in today's society, like I said yesterday, in yesterday's great podcast with Dr. Kara, is narcissism is really running rampant now because we have something called the iPhone. I call it the me device. Me, look at me. Let me post something about me on Facebook. Let me just stare at myself. Oh, look, a selfie time. Come over here, children, you props, you, and let me just take a picture of all of us. No, mommy, no, we don't want to do another selfie with you. Oh, I need to post it on my Instagram account. And you know what? I need to be on Facebook right now. Me. So we live in this world right now that narcissism is running rampant. And the fact of the matter is, so many people don't even know when they meet a narcissist. Oh God, they are just so amazing. The men are masters at communication. The women put on this beautiful mask and you think you found the greatest woman in the world. They listen to everything that you say and they give you so many words of affirmation. Well, they're only listening to everything you say because they're going to use it all against you in the future because that's the way that they manipulate. So I went on a search because I've been running into so many people who've been running into narcissists nonstop. I've got people who are trying to co-parent with a narcissist, which we learned yesterday. There's no such thing as co-parenting with a narcissist. Coexisting, maybe. Forgot the term that she used. You have to listen to yesterday's podcast to hear it out. But I found a wonderful guy named Bill Eddy. Bill Eddy is another Southern California man like myself, and Bill has written many books about divorcing a narcissist and dating a narcissist. So today we are going to give you some insurance on how to not date a narcissist. Hey, Bill, what's going on?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. This is a growing issue. Maybe it's part of our age, but there's a wide range of narcissism. And I do want to mention that we all have a little bit of that. And I like to call that healthy narcissism, helps you keep going. But some people have a disorder or what we call a high conflict personality, where it's stuck in their personality and it makes life really hard to be around them.
Okay, so how do we know, or let's talk, how do we know we found them? There's a new book that you wrote. Tell them the name of the new book, and let's kind of give them a little preview of the book, because I truly believe I've dealt with one, and I got to tell you something, it's just the worst experience of your entire life, because you just can't ever get stuck out of the mud. It's like there's never a conversation you can have with them, because every conversation you have with them, it's always about their viewpoints. They don't listen at all. You can go to therapy with them and the therapist will go, you're not listening to them. And the narcissist will say, yes, I am. And the therapist will go, no, you're not. They live in the past, because wherever they are, they just need to stay in whatever moment they got you in the first place. It's all past story. So how do we get people to not see them? What is this new book? And tell me what it's all about.
The new book is titled Dating Radar: When Your Brain Says Yes to the One Who Will Make Your Life Hell.
Love that.
And I co-authored it with a woman, Megan Hunter, and it's important to know that narcissists are men, narcissists are women. So it's not really a gender issue anymore, and men and women need to be on the watch for the warning signs. So a lot of the warning signs are, as you were saying earlier, me, is many conversations with a narcissist end up talking about them. And there's the joke that people say, well, enough about me, now let's talk about me. And that's kind of the narcissistic warning sign. But there's also a lack of empathy for others. They may even say the words, but you don't feel it. And you'll notice how they treat others is how they're eventually going to treat you. So be aware if they're talking about other people in a really disparaging, negative way, there's a good chance that's going to come around and be said about you maybe in 3 months or 6 months. And one of the things we say with dating is take your time. We suggest that you wait at least a year before you make a major commitment like getting married or having kids, because a lot of these behaviors don't show themselves on the first date, maybe even the second or third date. But after about 3 or 6 or 9 months, you start going, wow, this person is so self-centered, Or, and this person is so insulting. And what happens with narcissists is they see themselves as superior to everybody else. And so they have to keep putting everybody else down to feel like they're superior. So you get this constant barrage of arrogance and insults and demeaning comments, and you get it in public too. I mean, what could be more humiliating than someone you're dating is telling other people, other friends, their friends, your secrets, your confidences, and laughing about them to their friends in front of you. That's the example of that lack of empathy and the arrogance. But it's important to know a lot of this doesn't show up immediately. And when it does, it may catch you by surprise. But watch how they treat other people. That's so important to realize how they may treat you someday.
It's interesting how a friend of mine said that to me one time. He says, go hang out when you're dating somebody, go hang out with their friends and see the type of relationship they have with their friends. Is it warm? Is it loving? Is it catty? Do you like their friends? And that's the barometer that I've always taught people as well, too, is that go out with their friends. Do you like their friends? If the answer is no, get the hell out of that relationship. Because there's a reason why you don't like their friends. Because you're seeing their friends for who they are. And you're not seeing the mask that the narcissist has put on you, because the narcissist has friends that they can control. They have friends that that never stand up to them. They just kind of accept it. And to me, I mean, I've got friends that stand up to me all the time. So if you're going to hang out with me and my buddies, Bill, you come up to LA and we hang out, you're going to meet my friends. You're going to love them because they'll call me out on my shit, like right in front of you. And I'll just go like, you're 100% right. I am doing that right now. So what else can you share? Because once you're in a narcissist, and you've also written a book about divorcing a narcissist too. Once you're there and you have done the mistake and you had children with them, which a lot of my clients have had, divorcing them is like trying to divorce Satan.
Yeah, and divorce is where you see the worst behavior, and it may be things you saw signs of during the marriage. But I've had many clients as a lawyer. I've represented mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, and they often actually are shocked by how extreme their partner's behavior can become. And what it is, you mentioned the word control, and I think that's an important word here, is people with personality problems, and not just narcissists, there's others, there's borderline, antisocial, histrionic, paranoid personalities, some of whom are high conflict personalities, and they like to be in control. And when they're losing control, they become enraged, and it may be subtle, they may be kind of predatory, they'll catch you by surprise, or it may be very blatant and they'll be angry, they may assault you, they may spread rumors about you. They want to regain control. And so, especially if you end up going to court, you're going to be probably shocked by how they exaggerate or maybe even blatantly lie about you. And that's especially why my colleague and I wrote the book Splitting, Protecting Yourself While Divorcing Someone with Borderline or Narcissistic Personality Disorder. And as you mentioned, this is when people go through divorce, they need to understand what to expect from a narcissist. And it can really, in many ways, kind of ruin your life for 6 months, a year. Some people spend more time in court than they spent during the marriage. I've had 8-year divorces from 2-year marriages. So, especially when there's kids involved, as you mentioned, David, it's really can be horrendous.
I think you told me the other day when we spoke on the phone, it's all about documentation. You have to document their lives.
Yes.
They can't, because and I know a liar cannot. One of the things I learned from a guy named Russ Brown, this was a long time ago. He was my first narcissist that I ever dealt with. He was a business partner of mine, and I basically got ripped off in some real estate deals in Colorado. And he told me one thing: loose lips sink battleships, right? So he was able to manipulate even though the lies were proven, he was able to manipulate people to believe him because I didn't have the written proof. With a narcissist, I think you and I talked about, everything needs to be written down, because if you have written proof, they don't remember. A liar never remembers their lies. They go from one, I always say they go from one lie like a frog goes from a lily pond to the next, right? It's
Yep.
like, oops, we're going to jump on this lie today. Oh, this lie feels good. Wait, oh, this lie feels really wonderful. Oh, wait, I like this story and this lie today. And the lies just get bigger and bigger, and every story has a hole. There's a great show called Billions. Have you ever watched that show, Billions?
I've heard about, but haven't watched it yet.
There's a great episode that says, at the end when he says, I know, he says, you did not cross every I, dot every T. He goes, I will find the one loose link and I will ruin you on that. And I think that's the thing about narcissists. They're sociopaths. So they're not going to remember every lie because their lies just fit them. So you gave that good advice to me on the phone the other day, but wow, an 8-year divorce for a 2-year marriage, that's insanity.
Yep, it's not that uncommon. And once they get into the court system, they're very good at persuading judges, lawyers, counselors, mediators, etc., that they're wonderful and that you're a jerk. And so you've got to be prepared for that. And keeping a paper trail is a very good idea. Like you said, David, is documenting, even keeping a journal of what happens. And once you realize you may be heading for a divorce or a separation, it's important to start keeping track of things in case you get accused of things that aren't true. And also so you have a record of, for example, parenting behavior. A lot of narcissists talk big, but they don't really want to be that involved with the kids, except when it makes them look good. And so you may keep track if they don't go to the doctor's appointment or to games or school conferences or anything like that, and you do. That's the kind of thing you want to keep track of, because someday they'll say you never did it and they did it all, because they often twist things around. So that's something to watch out for. But another thing that's so important in a divorce is protect the kids from the conflict with your partner or your co-parent. Is really try not to talk to the kids about all this stuff. That's very important. And in the front of our book, Splitting, we have a quick start guide and give people tips just in 2 or 3 pages on what to avoid, so you don't set yourself up for trouble even before you separate. Good things to be aware of.
It's interesting, and you say it too, it's like the great thing about today's day and world is that you never should, if you're with a narcissist or you're co-parenting with a narcissist or you're divorcing one, or you think you're going to divorce one, there's no reason in the world to ever have a conversation face to face, because they will go eyeball to eyeball with you and literally lie. They'll admit the truth to you and then they'll go lie to somebody else because they want to always, try to gain things because they're takers in this world. So, when you have a paper trail, and it's so easy in today's day and world with, iMessage and your iPhone, and, you can use their favorite device against them, with emails and stuff. I mean, it's a story. You can have the contradictory story and actually, literally deliver it hand to the world and go, hey, look, here is the truth. You can read it, because they can't deny what they've written. They can only make up what they believe. And they believe this alternate universe that I've never seen an alternate universe like this in my entire life. It's crazy. And I've dealt with so many clients who have this, they're dealing with this, and their kids, it's almost like they don't even think about their children's future. They don't even think about what their children are going to happen in the future, because they're trying to control the kids in the present. And that to me, Bill, is the scariest thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's some of the worst part. I think I just want to say something about emails and such keep track of those, but also be really careful what you say in emails, because a lot of stuff can get twisted around, especially when you're angry. So many people I've dealt with in high conflict divorces, at the beginning, they said, well, if you're going to be that way, you're never going to see the kids again. And that's a terrible threat, and it usually goes nowhere in family court. But just seeing somebody say that looks really bad. So you make sure what you say in emails is reasonable. And we actually have an email method called BIF, brief, informative, friendly, and firm. And we have a little book about that on our website at highconflictinstitute.com. And it really has helped thousands of people avoid getting sucked into a high conflict court situation with their emails, because judges will read emails. People submit them to court all the time now. And you want to be the one that's got the reasonable email that's brief, informative, friendly, and firm.
Yeah, but there's always the past emails that are full of the emotions and the other stuff. And it seems like narcissists always pull the emotional emails about how how you once loved them. It's always like, why do they go into victim mode? What is that? I don't understand that part. Why are they always, you once loved me and now you don't, and now I want to torture? Where's the victim mentality come from?
Well, it really comes with personality disorders or traits. And there's 10 personality disorders in the mental health book for diagnosing mental health problems. The current one's the DSM-5. A lot of people hear about it, look it up on the internet. And people that have personality disorders are really stuck. They're kind of like everybody else, but they're stuck in a narrower range of behavior. And because of not being able to really vary themselves much, solve problems, they constantly feel like a victim because what they do doesn't work. And so all people with personality disorders tend to feel helpless, vulnerable, weak, and like a victim in life. The ones that you deal with, pretty high functioning narcissists, have that underneath, maybe deeply underneath. And so they may talk about how confident and strong and attractive and rich they are. But deep, deep down inside, narcissists especially often feel really vulnerable. And so they have what we call a narcissistic injury. When someone says, hey, you're not so smart. Hey, you didn't succeed at that. Hey, you lost a bunch of money or you lost your job, etc. We call that a narcissistic injury. And they are so feeling like a victim, and they'll tell you, how can you treat me so badly? It's everybody else's fault. And they sometimes go into a rage about that. We haven't talked about domestic violence at all, but narcissists are one of the personalities that sometimes engage in violence to regain control or just a sense of, superiority. So that victim is always kind of lurking under the surface, maybe very deep, but that's very characteristic of narcissists. They always say it's somebody else's fault, and how can you treat me so unfairly?
Yeah, and they're always trying to take. They like
Yeah.
to take. They like to take what's not theirs. Yeah.
Right. There's a saying with narcissists that when there's a narcissist in the room, they suck up all the oxygen and no one else can breathe. And that's true in relationships too. It's hard to be around a narcissist for too long.
It's really hard. It's one of those things, Bill, where you literally feel like, wow, it's like I can't even, it's like you can't even get a word in edgewise. And when you do, they're not listening because all they're trying to do is twist and turn. I call it one worditis. They will find that one word and they will back at you for 9 straight hours. And they love conflict. Like they actually think great sex, in order to have great sex, you must have conflict. It's like, they're wired really different, and it's sad. I mean, what I feel bad for is the children, because the kids are innocent and they're not props, and they're treated like props, because the narcissist comes across as a great parent, and some of them have great parenting skills. They definitely, on a lot of levels, they mean well. But there's always some form of fear and control that I've seen from all the narcissists that I've dealt with my clients, that they're always doing something with the kid to try to one up the other parent, and they're trying so desperately to control the kid.
Right. We call the term a negative advocate, that they try to draw in negative advocates, and kids are the easiest ones to draw in as a negative advocate because they're vulnerable and don't know what's going on. And so when they do that and draw in the kids, it's terrible because they can really alienate a child from the other parent and say, well, it's all the other parent's fault. We're getting divorced, or the other parent isn't paying child support, so you can't, buy new clothes, and there's so much blame involved. And when kids just get a steady diet of that, it does affect their thinking about the other parent. And so that's one of the things that we see. And it's one of the worst things. That's why I said earlier is don't involve the kids in the conflict. Try to protect them as much as possible. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah, they do a lot of subliminal mind fucking of the kids too, and that's the scary part. They just, in one sense they're this, in the other sense they're not, and that's what I've learned. I've been 17 years into coaching, and just the behavior patterns that I'm finding from all my clients that have been involved with narcissists is that you got to watch out for the subliminal signs.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes on non-verbally, and an important part here I want to emphasize is this isn't really planned conscious behavior mostly. Some of it is, but a lot of it is driven unconsciously, and they do this automatically, and they look sincere, but it's negative. It's very adversarial. They see all relationships as adversarial, and they see everything as winners and losers, and they want to be the winner, and so they have to make everybody else the loser. And that ends up often including the kids. They also split the kids. Like, say there's two kids, there's one, they say, oh, you're wonderful, agree with me, and everything. And the other child is like, oh, you're just like your mother, or you're just like your father, and I don't like that. And so you'll find them kind of taking one child under their wing, and you might think, well, that's great, they're getting a lot of attention, but the attention's mostly negative attention, and they're getting an earful of bad stuff about the other parent as the narcissist drives a wedge between their relationship with the other parent and maybe even with their sibling. So that's another behavior to watch out for.
There's so much, and we're way past 10 minutes. Of course, I knew we would be, because this is a fascinating topic. That's why I decided to do it on a Sunday, because I figured, hey, my audience, I'm giving you 10 minutes every single day. I gave you 2 long ones on Saturday and Sunday, because this to me is a very serious issue. And there's something, Bill, that you said that I agree with you 100%. It's, if you want to have children with somebody, and and it's important to have children and have a family, you got to wait a few years. You got to see every behavior pattern that this person brings at you, because the worst thing in the world is to co-parent, because as you know, there's no co-parenting with a narcissist. It doesn't exist. It's their rules or no rules, and they expect you to play by them. And I think you have some wonderful information. So tell them about your new book. Tell them about where they can reach you on the website, and promote. This is the shameless self-plug for all the people out there that need some help dealing with a narcissist.
Thank you so much, David. Well, the main website is highconflictinstitute.com, and we have all our books, articles, etc. So you can go there. You'll see Dating Radar on the homepage as a book. Click on that, and it takes you to the publisher. But we also have a special website for Dating Radar, and it's dating-radar, radar.com. And one thing I encourage your listeners to do is to take our survey. We've had several hundred people take our survey about relationships, maybe currently or in the past, where they suddenly discovered that they were dealing with someone with a real difficult personality, like a narcissist or borderline or antisocial, etc. So we had that survey, and so that's Dating Radar. That's the book, and it's actually being released in August. So you're, I think, our first interview, David. So I want to thank you for that. It's just hot off the press. It's also an ebook, and it's going to be an audiobook as well. It's not done yet, but you can get it as a paperback or as an ebook. And so that's to help you not get into the relationship. But we also have the book Splitting, which I co-authored with Randy Kreger. And that book you can also link to our publisher and get copies of that. It's called Splitting, Protecting Yourself While Divorcing Someone with Borderline or Narcissistic Personality Disorder. And really, you don't have to have a formal diagnosis. If you just suspect that you're facing this kind of a problem or any high conflict divorce, this book will help you. And we tell people, don't label your partner, don't say you're a narcissist, just use the strategies that we teach. Your life will be a lot easier.
Well, this is great, and I appreciate it. Everybody, please go swarm his website, because this is a big reality weekend. This is what I call narcissistic reality. It's the perfect way to end July. August, well, August is not going to be a month of narcissism. We have a lot of good shows planned. So say goodbye to Bill, everybody. Go to 10-Minute Daily Reality Check and share this podcast. This is an extremely important podcast. Share it with anybody that you know that is suffering or dealing with it, because you can't deal with a narcissist alone. Unfortunately, they like to be on this island. You notice the word I, as in land, with their iPhone, and they like to sing me, 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 me. And sometimes, as they say with kids, it takes an army to raise kids. It takes an army to beat one narcissist. Hello, God. Let's go back to World War II, right? Remember the narcissist that ran Germany? Enough said. Anyway, Bill, thank you so much for today.
Thank you, David. I really enjoyed it, and I really hope your listeners get to use some of the information.